So what protection should people use when viewing the eclipse with your eyes and when photographing it?
If they make these Eclipse filters you could put on your camera, but you'll want to order one as soon as you can because like they sell out pretty quick around eclipses. The first year I put a piece of Eclipse paper in like a filter holder, and I guess that wasn't what I was supposed to do. But if you can put it ideally on the front element, then that should work. If you can get a piece big enough.
When I was starting to look for a solar filter for doing photos of the eclipse, there is a certain grading that it needs to have to be safe for doing that. So I'll put that in the show notes so people know what they need to search for. And I agree with you, Chris. If people want to order one, if you want to just go on Amazon or B&H or wherever and order one, you better do it quick because those are going to start selling out as we get closer to the eclipse.
Yeah. And then the bigger the lens, the more expensive the pieces that you put on it. So I think once you start to get to those big white lenses, it's really hard to find something, and then just get there early. Get on the road way earlier than you think you need to be because there's going to be a lot of people driving and you want to make sure that you have enough time to get there. It's going to be gridlocked.
So pick a location that will experience totality if possible. And then within that, pick some backup locations as well in case whatever reason, whether it's too traffic jam to get to your main location or if it's cloudy there, have some backup locations where you can go on the spot. So really, rather than any fancy photography apps, the main kind of app you're going to want is maybe Google Maps for, routes and traffic, and a weather app to see what the weather's doing.
And if it's overhead, I don't know where it's going to be in the sky for you guys, but if it's overhead, it really doesn't matter as much. Maybe if there's like a statue you can use to have something of scale. But if it's lower on the horizon, you might be able to plan, okay, do I want a city? Do I want it over a city? Do I want it over a statue? Do I want it over a gorge? Like start to plan what it's going to look like for you. You want like a faster shutter speed. And keep in mind with the longer focal lengths, you want to have like faster shutter speeds. So if it's at 600 millimeters, you want at least a minimum 1/640th of a second. And I had
so that you don't get shake, so you don't get it. So you get a sharp image.
Yep. And then you also want to make sure like aperture is as wide as you can get it, just because you're going to have your ISO higher. And with modern day cameras, like you can handle like 6400 ISO fine, 12,800 maybe even, but you want to have a lower ISO if possible. So you want to have like the balance where the shutter speed's fast enough to freeze it, like 1/600th of a second, and then like you also want to have it be where the ISO is not too high but not too low.
Okay, so the aperture as narrow as you can get it on your camera, the ISO as low as you can get it, and then shutter speed high enough to at least not have a blurry or shaking photo.
Yeah, and then you want to know your gear, like what's the highest ISO you can have before it gets too grainy to be usable. So
right, like if you have a full frame camera, you can probably, especially a Sony, or really anything these days, you can probably do the 12,800 ISO, like you said, and clean it up in Lightroom or whatever editing software you use.
But if
you're shooting on a crop sensor, go ahead.
It still could be good though. I mean, an R7 does pretty good at higher ISOs, I heard, which is like Canon's premier like crop sensor camera. I'm sure Sony and Nikon have something comparable too. With that, you have an advantage where you have it's a smaller sensor, so it takes up less space on your lens. So it appears like it's a longer zoom. So
right.
It'll like Canon's 1.6, Nikon I think is 1.5, and I think Sony's the same too. So a 100 millimeter lens becomes 150 with Sony and Nikon. A 100 millimeter lens with Canon becomes 160. So times 6 times 5,
So if you were putting that 600 millimeter lens you were using on a crop sensor camera, you've really got 900 millimeters.
Yep.
So that's a good thing to keep in mind. If you have a crop sensor camera that is good with low light, then you might want to use that ahead of a full frame camera just for that extra reach.